Joe, we're so excited about this.
I am so excited. Thank you so much for having me on. This is like kind of a dream of mine. So
Aw.
I'm
Oh,
pinching myself.
oh, it's mutual. You know, my girlfriend's a Jersey girl, so I kind of got a thing for her. Okay.
Love me a
Stop there.
Stop it.
Stop there.
I said I have a girlfriend. She's obviously a mom. Okay. Anyway, Joe, I know I was saying I love your tweets. I follow you every day. And then I saw you at the White House, you know, with the other big social influencers. And I was like, yay, I'm so proud of her. I don't even know her.
I can't even believe I still have to pinch myself that even happened because my arc was from a special education paraprofessional in June of the same summer to the White House in September. I mean, it was just I couldn't believe it happened myself. Really.
What? And your potty mouth, which is what I love about you best.
She had to ask if she could curse on this show. We're like, no.
No. But yeah, actually, even your podcast, what it's called, Are You Kidding Me? Which I love. But hey, we've linked to all your stuff. You have to tell us that trajectory though. So how did it happen? How did you become this Twitter activist rock star so quickly?
I gotta tell you, and this is going to sound shocking, but in many ways, Donald Trump's awfulness like saved my life. Because before 2016, I was just kind of like this mom, and I was obsessed with being a mom and consumed with all mom things. You know how that is, you know, you lose yourself. And I thought, I don't really care about anything. And then he came down that escalator and he called Mexicans what we all know he called them.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy. And then I thought, surely the Republican Party will stand up to him. There's no way this is going to work. There's no way he's going to have an actual candidacy. And with every transgression, with every horrible, racist, intolerant thing he said, I came back online. And then I went to my Facebook and I was like, oh, these are all Trumpers. I got to get off here. What's this Twitter thing all about? So I went to Twitter and I was like, wait a minute, there's people on here that feel the way I do. So I wasn't losing my mind. And every, conversation I had on Twitter, I felt a little bit more alive, a little bit more online, a little bit more myself, and a little more engaged. And so Trump was so awful that he kind of brought me back from the brink of kind of just yielding to, adulthood and just the existence as just being a mom.
I love all your tweets that end with, if you think X, Y, and Z about Trump, you're an idiot and a hole.
Yeah, I keep it classy like that.
And I love when you say I know about being a mom. No, I don't. I'm a single loser. But how old is is a son, daughter, or?
A 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And they've cut their teeth on all this stuff right along with me, unfortunately.
Well, I just was reading, I just wanted, because I know so many moms actually have been activated. This one, third graders in Nashville who watch their classmates and teachers get murdered are now, quote, noticeably void of joy and wake up screaming. Their suffering is the price we pay so that some adults can have fun dressing up as urban commandos complete with real army guns. And I know, you love my shirt, Abort the Court, but we, just talked about like 80% of women are against the Roe v. Wade.
Telling the truth out of to appease this person who's indicted essentially for, under the Espionage Act for stealing our nuclear secrets. I think in 2024, more of the reasonable Americans will say just what they said in 2020, which is no more of that. We've had enough. We want competency, not crazy.
Yeah. Well, you said same Republican Party totally fine with George Santos lying, punished Adam Schiff for telling the truth. And I love, by the way, you said George Santos's dad and aunt, a house painter and a mail carrier, respectively, posted his $500,000 bond. And you just said a house painter and a mail carrier posted, thoughtful chin scratch.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, George Santos has such a pure and clean record of telling the truth and having everything, right up there and up front. I'm sure there's nothing suspicious about his father and his aunt, probably giving $500,000 for his bond. I'm sure that's not suspicious at all.
Yeah. And speaking of moms, by the way, you said, quoting Hitler, looks like Moms for Liberty is really leading into that hate group designation. I mean, they literally put it on their website, a quote from Hitler.
Right. And then when everybody called them out on it, they were like, oops, sorry. We didn't mean to get caught quoting Hitler next to, by the way, something about biblical school. I mean, it's like a Russian nesting doll of crazy.
Yes. Come on, kids. Let's all go to Hitler Burger.
Yeah.
Okay. This is what it looks like. I highlight every single one of your tweets. So I don't even know where to start. There's so much. It's just this week. Isn't there so much crazy? I mean, as a woman, How embarrassed are you that you have 2 congresswomen on the floor of the House going, "You're a little bitch. Screw you. We're done." Oh my God. I mean, it's not even high school, right? It's like your 13-year-old.
The way I described it, it was like I thought of my daughter, and if some other 3rd or 4th grader girl was like known for wearing pink high tops to school every day, and like her, nemesis showed up like with pink high top Converse on one day, she'd be like, "Those are mine. This is my look." And what they were fighting about, like this is where it jumps the shark, is they were fighting because Marge said that Bobo stole her articles of impeachment. It's like, is this really? And we're going to have this conversation on the floor? Like, does anyone, I know you guys like wanted the guy who was smearing poop on the walls to be on the floor and stuff, but like, can we have just a little bit of decorum? Is that,
yeah.
I mean, then again, same party at the beginning. Remember that vote when the guy in the wig tried to beat up the guy with the fake adult son? Yes, I mean, the girls fighting it's like not even a surprise. Natural graduation of where we should have come.
You tweeted, "You stole my sham impeachment, you trashy bitch." And then when you think they can't top themselves, they made a motion to expunge Donald Trump's impeachment. Impeachments, that's not a thing. You can't do that. I mean, they top themselves being ridiculous every week, don't they?
Oh my God. And Lauren Boebert is so dumb. I tweeted once that she could throw herself on the ground. I'm okay with that.
But you summed it up. You said catfights and stunt censure votes. This is what you get when you put a bunch of Trumpy insurrectionists in charge of, right? I mean, I cannot imagine this is what, as you said, Joe, that this is what voters actually want. They are not doing anything but stunts.
No. And they ran, by the way, on lowering inflation and lowering the cost of eggs and the cost of milk and saving our gas stoves. I mean, it's ridiculous. Not only they're not doing anything for the American people, one of the things they're trying to do is to take school lunches away from kids.
Yeah.
Like, so Sally, 2nd grader, goes to school starving and she has to sit there and it's like, "Sorry, we're pro-life, Sally. You can't have a free lunch." Like, they're trying to take food stamps away from single moms. It's the antithesis to doing stuff for the American people. They're trying to take away Social Security and Medicaid.
I know. We keep saying the cruelty's the point, but what are they going to start naming the bills? Like, slapping food out of grandma's mouth. Like, what? They just don't. It's the kicking puppies bill. Like, yeah. And by the way, you listed, Democrats had control, American Rescue Plan, bipartisan infrastructure bill, first major gun safety legislation in decades, CHIPS Act, Inflation Reduction Act, the PACT Act, Respect for Marriage Act. I mean, Democrats get done. That's really the message, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the difference here is you're talking about the grown-ups in the room versus, the toddlers. The Democrats understand that they're there for the American people. They're not there for sound bites and girl fights. They're there to get things done, to move this country forward. And Republicans don't have platforms or policy. They haven't in a very long time. And so all they have is performative stunts. I mean, really, when the Democrats had the gavel, they got things done. The Republicans held the country hostage to nearly defaulting on our debt.
I gave them a slogan for 24, Republicans, stunts and... But I can't say this.
No, you cannot
say the second word, but I'll send you a T-shirt. I'll make a T-shirt.
I love that. Thank you.
She's a Jersey potty mouth after my own heart. By the way, I asked the question, could they get more ridiculous? And I forgot. You said, wait. The quackheads are actually out there saying that the submarine story is just a distraction for the Hunter Biden plea deal. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, you think like, oh, no, they didn't. And you're like, oh, yes, no, they said that it's the Biden administration's fault. The submarine, or the submersible, whatever it is.
I honestly thought that was not true until I did the tiniest bit of digging. And then I saw there's an account called Cat Turd. I mean, this guy in Florida who has pee-pee on shelves, and he calls himself after feline feces. But they are saying this. They are actually, Don Jr. is out there saying that the submarine story is a distraction for the Hunter Biden plea deal. You can't make this stuff up.
I know. And I was just talking to Glenn Kirshner that their latest thing is Hunter mentioned his father's name in a phone call once. Because none of us who have ever done that. Okay.
Impeach.
You mentioned your dad a lot on this show, Stephanie.
Yes, I'm a little daddy's girl. Yeah. Name dropper. Okay.
Did you too then?
By the way, your last tweet, you said Republicans are losing their minds right now because John Durham didn't corroborate their made-up traitorous bull, and it's absolutely glorious to behold. Like Glenn Kirshner said, he was like, Republicans called this hearing? I mean, what a show, right? I mean, I could have. I thought Democrats did this, but I mean, it just really exposed. Go ahead. Yeah.
They thought he was their savior. They thought, we've got Durham. This is all set. Like, he's going to expose the Mueller report for all the things it was. And then they're like, okay, so what do you know about the Mueller report? He's like, nothing. Okay, so how many of these convictions did you actually get? Oh, none. Like, how many of these court cases did you win? None. I mean, it was a train wreck.
It was terrible.
Right.
Joe, before we go, are you hopeful? I am. I'm the happy clappy liberal. They like call me, but I feel like with Jack Smith, I know the Washington Post reporting was upsetting, but I just feel like Jack Smith, between documents and J6, I really feel like, what do they say? It seems like justice is never coming, and then it comes all at once. How are you feeling about it?
I feel exactly the same way. And I know it's been hard for a lot of people to kind of navigate this time period that's elapsed because you feel like justice isn't coming. But I do feel as though it is coming. I think Jack Smith has his ducks in a row. And I think that what we have here is evidence that is just insurmountable. And I do have hope. I think he will be indicted, and I think it'll make a difference in 2024 if he's even the nominee.
Now, our friend Aisha Tyler told us that Barack Obama smells like cookies and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
What does Joe Biden smell like, having been to the White House?
I went viral for this for On the Other Side because they dragged me as being a cultist because I was a little tipsy the day I came home from the White House, and I celebrated a little bit.
Oh, no.
Just a little bit.
And yet you didn't take your top off, did you? Thank you.
Well, as I do, but for money, only for money. So, as they say, I'm a meth head with an OnlyFans. Not true, but anyway. So I tweeted that he smelled like a hug and warm cocoa on a snowstorm.
Oh, that's perfect
awesome.
with cookies and freedom. A hug and warm cocoa.
He really did.
Oh,
he was
that's
the sweetest
fantastic.
guy. I mean, honestly, I think about it all the time, just how genuinely kind he was in that moment.
You've made a grave error in coming on the show. I'm going to be super clingy now, and I hope that you'll come on lots. Will you come back lots, please?
Oh, please. I'm going to be like an STD. You're not going to be able to get rid of me.
My own personal clap. JoJo from Jerz. We have linked to her Substack, her podcast. Get everything she does. Support her.
Yep.
We love you, JoJo. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
All right. There's
Thanks,
JoJo.
Well, I want to talk about that cavalierness a little bit because something that I feel like hasn't necessarily been coming up as much about why he was so brazenly cavalier is something you talk about, you put on my radar first, which was narcissism.
Right.
So I didn't even know, I'd heard that word, bantered about all my life, but I didn't know what it was. And you you made it very clear, brought it into focus for me, which actually changed.
I didn't know anything. I actually didn't know. I really didn't understand it until I started reading about Trump. And then I not only understood it, it not only provided a clear explanation of why Trump does the things he does and what he's going to do next. It almost almost means you can expect what he is going to do in some ways. He's almost predictable. It also, you realize that you've gone through life, and I know these characteristics, and I've had to deal with people in my life and work and family situations who have similar tendencies. I confess I really went through 5 decades of my life plus without knowing anything about it, and now I understand how it relates to a lot of bad things that are going on in our society today, and particularly in politics.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, because I didn't really know what it was, once I had that lens to view people and interactions, and
it's like there are some people that you just say, "Oh my gosh, check."
Yeah,
that's why he was so hard to deal with. My boss, and so much.
Right.
He did all of these things. Yeah.
Right. And then so many times it's hindsight.
Right.
And then you're already
you start replaying like, oh God, I remember the time I gave the boss this document and he did this and he said that.
Right. Right. But in Trump's case, he is what you call a malignant narcissist, right?
Correct. A narcissistic sociopath.
Right. So it's almost SNL beyond parody, like the things he said on tape about this is super secret. I'm not supposed to have this. Look what I have.
Right.
And the Millie stuff where he's like, this proves that I'm right and he's wrong.
Right.
All of that. All of that. I mean, it's a
right. It's a combination of the narcissism and the sociopathy. The narcissism led him to take the stuff because everything is all about him and everything belongs to him. Everything he touches, everyone who works for him belongs to him. Everyone should do what he says. And so, you know, he's this 5-year-old and it's like, these are my toys. I'm taking them with me.
Right.
And you know, people say, oh, well, he probably thought about selling them. No. That's the sociopathy part. Was sociopaths don't plan. They are impulsive. They don't plan ahead. Sociopaths and psychopaths, and they don't follow laws and rules. They don't think they apply to them, and they're not. You know, they'll do anything to lie, cheat, and steal to get what they want. And you know, the fact that he took these documents and started waving them around, his view is the law doesn't apply to me, and these are mine, and I can use them to my benefit. I don't have any idea how I'm going to use them, and he's totally impulsive. And if somebody had offered him money for it, he probably would have taken it. But he just didn't. But he lives from moment to moment. I mean, and you can just see all that in the evidence against him. It's just you can see the.
To live or afford a place to live, Speaker McCarthy chooses to occupy the resources of Congress for 2 straight weeks on this hollow sop to the MAGA crowd.